We might have self-confidence in one area of life. We might lack self-confidence in another area of life. And self-confidence really is the key to relationships. It's the key to personal development. Self-confidence is a key, I think, to overcoming depression, to managing anxieties, fears, jealousies. Really, when you think of just about any area of life where a person might want to make change, self-confidence is a part of that. In hypnosis, the confidence to lose weight. In hypnosis, the confidence to stay a non-smoker. In hypnosis, the confidence to apply the techniques and finally control the functional pain I've seen 37 doctors for without any results. And so self-confidence is something that is enormously practical. In fact, here's Richard's theory on the importance of self-confidence hypnosis. If all you were to do with every one of the clients who came in your office was a progressive muscle relaxation induction, a 10-count deepener, a metaphor or some other indirect suggestion related to feeling more confident, 10 direct suggestions related to confidence, future-paced, a more confident resource state related to whatever brought them to the office, and then had them open their eyes, 99% of the people who came to see you would think you were the world's greatest hypnotist. And I don't think I can overestimate really the importance of self-confidence. Think about your own life and your own experiences in the areas of life where you have tremendous confidence. That's awesome. There are probably also areas of your life where you've struggled, and that's normal for people. And this class is going to give you some solutions to those areas of your life where you would like to find improvement. And the reason why I'm doing this in an approach that addresses your own self-confidence is real simple. When we apply the principles of hypnosis in our own life, what it does is it lets us experience change and transformation, and it allows us to share that more passionately with other people. So I have a lot of degrees. I've gone to a lot of school. I keep going back to school for some reason throughout my whole adult life, because I like to tell people I have as many degrees as a rectal thermometer. That's not why I'm a good hypnotist. In fact, it has nothing to do with me being a good hypnotist. I know a lot of people who are good hypnotists who got a GED and never went to college. A whole ton of them. They're absolutely fantastic, wonderful, great hypnotists. And usually when somebody's a great hypnotist, it has nothing to do with school. It has to do with two things. One, they actually really care about other people. Anybody here actually care about other people? Do you guys care about your clients? You like to see them make change. I think that's the most important factor in being a good hypnotist is do you actually genuinely care about other people? If you genuinely care about other people, I think you're probably 80% of the way there to being an exceptional hypnotist. But the other thing that helps us to be a great hypnotist is to apply these principles in our own life. And when we do that, then we come to those sessions where we actually care about people, and we do it from a place of passion. And a place of passion is probably more powerful than any other place that we can come from. So I'm excited about this topic. I'm looking forward to it. And I want this to be empowering. I want this to be uplifting. I want this to be incredibly awesome for you, except we're going to start off with some misery. Who's ready to start off with some misery? Anyone here? Raise your hand if you're ready to kick this off with a little bit of misery. All right, Robert's the only one shaking his head. You don't have to agree with me. We're still going to start off with misery anyway. So every single one of us and every single one of our clients, and probably everybody on the planet Earth, is actually born with a sense of trust and confidence. So a lot of people think confidence is something I have to learn. Confidence is something I have to develop. And it is something we can learn, and it is something we can develop. But I think it's really important to point out right at the beginning that babies are born with an innate sense of trust and confidence. And we see this in instinctive behaviors that a baby has. I actually have a baby grandchild. He's just 1 year old. So I have a little bit of fresh baby experience. I was there yesterday. It was 2 days. Today's Monday. I was there at my grandson's house on Saturday, spent the day with him. That was awesome. But what do babies do? Babies root. Babies suck. Babies cling, right? Babies are born with the confidence to say, hey, I need something, so I'm going to cry. Babies are born with the confidence to say, hey, I'm going to eat, give that to me. Babies are born with the confidence to express themselves. And what happens shortly thereafter is the real world gets in the way of a baby's confidence. And what happens is it actually begins to take away or zap confidence. So, how many of you have ever studied attachment and attachment disorders and patterns of attachment in children? And this is really an important idea, and that is one of the ideas of secure attachment. This is developed with consistent, responsive caregiving, a parent or caregiver who gives a sense of confidence and self-worth to a child. But think about your own experience. Did any of you have a less than secure attachment with a caregiver early on in your life? And what happens is those insecure attachments, they can be anxious, they can be avoidant, they can develop because of inconsistent care, they can develop because of unresponsive caregiving, and this actually produces a sense of diminished self-confidence. So you can see a baby is born with it. But according to John Bradshaw, anyone remember John Bradshaw from the 1980s, 1990s? He was on PBS. He was from Houston, Texas. Go Houston. Did a bunch of series. Bradshaw on the Family. Those were his talks. And he had a theory, and his theory is that there isn't any child who hasn't experienced some trauma. And it's those traumas, especially during childhood, that disrupt the development of secure attachment. It can lead to a loss of confidence and self-esteem. So what happens is, as we are going through the earliest developmental stages of life, in many cases, we're actually losing the confidence that we were born with. And then, of course, in more difficult families and communities, because I think this extends beyond the family. How many of you have heard of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences? Abuse, neglect, household dysfunction, a parent who's incarcerated, all these things, addiction in the family, all of these adverse childhood experiences, and there probably isn't a perfect family out there. Saw a meme the other day, and a family from the 50s, and each one had a little balloon over their head that was revealing the things that weren't talked about in the 50s, but were still present in their families. It kind of captured my attention. Too bad I didn't save it. But all of these adverse childhood experiences can negatively impact self-confidence. And it undermines a person's self-confidence. It leads to self-doubt and insecurity. And by late childhood, pre-adolescence, what we have is we have people, and we say, well, it's normal to have adolescence or to have anxiety and fear and to be insecure and awkward. And it is normal. But because it's normal doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's healthy, doesn't mean it had to be that way, even if it might in fact be the experience for most people. So what happens is I told you this first part was depressing. I mean, I warned you, didn't I? I did give you a warning. So what happens is, we get into junior high school. I was driving to Louisiana, where my grandchildren live and my son lives. And I was driving with my stepdaughter, though. She's 14 and a half. And so we headed over there, and then we were driving back. So that gave us 4 hours there and 4 hours back to talk about teenage stuff in the car, right? And at one point, because kids have TikTok now. She's like, oh my gosh, Dad. She said, look, one of the kids from my high school posted a fight in the high school. So she showed it to me on the phone. I guess she was waiting for somebody to post the fight on TikTok that happened in school. 2 girls, they got into a fight. And I'm trying to drive the car, but she's trying to help me watch videos. And I had to explain to her that when you learn how to drive, you'll learn that you can't watch videos while driving. So I'll check it out later. But I was sort of peering at her for a few minutes. So I asked her, I said, have you ever been in a fight in school? She said, well, not a fight like this. She said, but in 4th grade, I got in a fight on the bus. I didn't know about that. She kept that a secret until I was safe. But she got in a fight on the bus. And I said, well, I got in a fight too. I was in 8th grade. I got in a fight with a guy named Dave Hicks. I still remember his name. He beat me up in less than 1 minute. The fight didn't last very long. It's the only fight I ever got in at school. But I was, in fact, a victim of bullying. in school. And what we see is we see bullying, peer rejection. We see that in childhood, adolescence. It erodes self-confidence. It develops social anxiety, low self-esteem. And by the way, self-confidence and low self-esteem, a person can respond to that with overcompensation. And they can become a super achiever, and everyone says, "Oh, you're doing great." But the reality is, being an overachiever is sometimes an overcompensation for those feelings of inadequacy. Why do you think I've collected so many degrees along the way? Because, well, I mean, perhaps if you guys were Sigmund Freud, we might analyze it this way: Richard is so insecure, he believes that recognition will make him feel safe. Right. You can look into your own life because I'm sure I'm not the only one who could be analyzed by Sigmund Freud. But anyone relate to what I'm saying here? Anyone have similar experiences or see these similar experiences in your husband or your wife or your children or the others who you care for? And in the adult world, it doesn't get any better. We got to keep up with the Joneses. And when we try to keep up with the Joneses, what we discover is that that we feel insecure when our neighbor gets, I live in Texas, they get a bigger truck than I have. Or when their partner wears, I don't know, I'm not good with fashion, so I'm just going to randomly throw stuff out. When their wife or their husband wears a Rolex or Arpels and Van Cleef. How did I do with fashion? Arpels and Van Cleef. You're surprised I knew that, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, you thought Cartier was cool. Try Arpels and Van Cleef. Cartier is for the poor people. So there you go. Who was it? It was in the 1950s. Somebody famous made the Arpels and Van Cleef pendant. It's like a clover. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? All right, that's good. That means I don't have any uber rich people here in the neighborhood. But yeah. So we get this. Keeping up with the Joneses. And when a person has a feeling that they haven't achieved as much as somebody else or can't keep up with the Joneses, it leads to chronic stress, leads to conflict, it leads to adversity. And what happens is we lose more confidence. And so this whole trajectory in life is set up where we're winning at the beginning, but for most people, by the end, they're losing. And anyone here read Reddit? Any Redditors on here? Any users of Reddit? Okay, I spend a lot of time on Reddit. Sharon, you're a Redditor also? There you go. Yeah. All day long I'm on Reddit. It's the greatest website, the greatest social media that ever existed. It's what if social media didn't suck? That's Reddit. Reddit.com, Reddit.com. Go check it out. You can find anything on there from an interview with the president to technical porn to tremendous recipes to psychological research to if it exists, it's on Reddit, whether it's good or whether it's bad, it is definitely there on Reddit. So everything is there. But I was reading on Reddit, and this was a post that somebody posted this morning. I think it was actually an Ask Reddit. That's a very popular forum on there, probably millions of people in that forum. Hey, I got a question for you. I'm 55 years old and I haven't accomplished anything in my life. And one of the issues I'm struggling is that my wife and I haven't had sex in more than 10 years. And I don't have any friends. And my children have grown up and they don't call me. And I never achieved much in my career. And although I own a house and I can pay my bills every single month, I don't have anything to look forward to. And so the post basically said, I don't really know what I'm asking here, but does anybody else feel like me? And there were literally thousands of replies. Some of those replies were the appropriate reply, which was, hey, a lot of people feel despondent. And so if you feel suicidal, call 988. That's actually pretty good advice. Okay. It showed that even the strangers on the internet care enough to actually try to support somebody who they perceive might be in a worse place than they're presenting. But a lot of other people jumped on and said, yes, I feel exactly like you. And the reason why so many people feel that way is because along this journey or along this path, they haven't created or restored the self-confidence that they were born with. And so in tonight's experience, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hypnotize everybody. And the reason why is the easiest way to learn hypnosis is actually to experience hypnosis. But the easiest way to regain our confidence is to access the inner resources that are within us. You see, Milton Erickson had a theory, and his theory was that the patient has within them the resources they need to solve any problems. And if your life is like that, Redditors, or if your life is like that description of you got super confidence when you're young and dumb, but as you go through the hardships of life, things keep sucking at your confidence, you're going to find that it is easy to quickly restore the natural state of confidence that we are born with by using hypnotic methods. So those are some of the things that we have to look forward to, and I am looking forward to sharing that with you. So, like I said, we'd start off with the negative stuff, and that is you got robbed. And John Bradshaw has long been one of my favorite authors. And Bradshaw actually gave us some solutions to this whole downward spiral of life that seems to zap our self-confidence. And Bradshaw is in agreement that, hey, in the emotional self that's formed during the first few years of life, that carries the wounds of childhood shame and trauma and neglect. And we bring that into our adult world. And when we bring that into our adult world and our adult experience, Bradshaw calls that toxic shame. This is the opposite of self-confidence. What is the opposite of self-confidence? It's literally toxic shame. That is the antithesis. So if you want to do some homework or Google something or watch YouTube later on to build on some of these things, just Google toxic shame. That's what we're really fighting. This is internalized during childhood due to dysfunctional family systems and emotional neglect. It leads to the development of a shame-based identity. Or anyone here use perch therapy? Anybody here use perch therapy at all in the hypnosis you do? Bradshaw actually referred to this when he talked about a fragmented sense of self. This is where these parts are created, or where these parts come from. So if you're doing perch therapy, you're actually using some of the methods that John Bradshaw certainly advocated. He wasn't the inventor of perch therapy. I mean, probably Gestalt therapy, and Fritz Perls is probably the most prolific writer on the subject of perch therapy. But even Freud and certainly Carl Jung, their ideas certainly were here as well. So what Bradshaw tells us is this: that we all have an inner child within us, everyone here. Has anyone else had this thought? Because I've had this thought on multiple occasions at various points in my life. I remember when I was a little kid and didn't have these problems. I remember that. Every now and then I'm like, oh my God, it was just so easy to be 8, to play in the sandbox with my Tonka trucks. Didn't have these problems. So what Bradshaw actually tells us is something really important, that an inner child is within each one of us. And in our adult world, we have unmet needs and unexpressed emotions that come into our adult world. We manifest those with self-destructive behaviors. Probably topping the list is addiction. Anyone here ever struggled with any addictions? Just me. I'm the only one? Or me and Robert? Okay, Joanne and Trish and Laura. So I hit this year, provided I don't drink between now and March 31st, I have 36 years of sobriety. So in fact, here's my 35-year chip from AA. There you go. 35, it's on my desk. 35-year chip. Even though I haven't had a drink in 35 years, 11 months, 11 days, I have other addictions. Anyone ever see me with a big iced tea filled with caffeinated iced tea? Has anyone ever seen me without a big iced tea cup? No, you've never seen me without it. Right? Behavioral addictions, right? Becoming fused with thoughts. These are all forms of addiction, right? I didn't quit smoking till I was 40 something. even though it was actually helping other people quit smoking. Interesting. Which, by the way, is a very important point in hypnosis and in therapy. And that is, we can help people solve their problem even if we haven't solved our own. That's really, I mean, a lot of people believe I can't really help people with self-esteem and self-confidence because I lack self-esteem and self-confidence. And the reality is, one of the ways for you to help yourself is to get out of yourself and into the life of others and to begin helping others with problems like yours. And it may feel inauthentic, or it may cause you cognitive dissonance, but that's actually good for you because it'll help you to make that transformation and make your own change. So how do we heal an inner child, right? Well, Bradshaw tells us we have to acknowledge and validate the experiences we've had. Acknowledging and validating doesn't mean we like those negative experiences. It doesn't mean we want them to happen to other people. It doesn't mean we're happy that these things happen to us. But what it means is we're willing to look at the shit from our previous experiences and recognize that no matter how difficult it was, or how unfair it was, or how unjust it was, or how abusive it was, or how exploitive it was, it brought me to where I am today. And where I am today might suck and might be difficult. But where I am today is also the starting point that I have to step into a new chapter of life tomorrow. And so Bradshaw would tell us that in order to do this, we have to go through healing processes. Hypnosis is a great way to engage in healing processes. In hypnosis, we can create self-love. We can nurture ourselves. What else can we do in hypnosis? We can role play with ourselves and speak to the parts of us which we have kept hidden or suppressed. We can communicate with a repressed child within us. And in parts therapy, the goal, of course, is integration. And so we want to integrate the inner child, let it come out and play, let that inner child come out and be present with us in our adult world. I had somebody say to me, a very close family member the other day, "You're never going to grow up, are you?" And with a big smile on my face, I said, "No." I took what was probably intended to be an insult as a compliment. Because one of the things, some of you know me in real life, and maybe you haven't known me long, maybe you just met me last week in Florida. But one of the things I am is I'm pretty playful. Would you guys agree with that? I think I'm playful. Definitely playful. I mean, with that, I like to play frisbee. I like to play with words. I like to play with hypnosis, NLP patterns. I like to play with people, all these sorts of things. But when we integrate our inner child with the other parts of us, we create a cohesive sense of self. We foster love and self-acceptance and self-confidence in our adult world, even if these are things that have been taken away from us. So, pretty interesting stuff. I told you this was going to be deep. Remember I said it's going to be a deep dive into self-confidence? I mean, we're not just going to put an NLP circle of excellence on the floor. We're going to dive deep into this. My hope is that over the next couple of weeks that you are really able to find some solutions in your own life that then you'll be able to apply with some other people. And over the next 6 weeks, the people in this class are going to become some of our best friends, some of the most important people in our world. And this is a small class, so there's one benefit to that, and then one thing I'm going to ask of you. Benefit number one is we can probably we'll probably have a chance to really address some things that we otherwise might not have a chance to address if we were a group of 40 or 50 or 60 people. That's pretty cool. The other thing is don't miss any sessions because we need you. Yes, you're wanted. Yes, you're important. And so yes, I will post the Zoom replays after each class. But it'd be super helpful to me if you're actually here. So before we go any further, and before I talk a little bit about some of the research related to self-confidence and why am I interested in the subject, most of you know I'm finishing a second doctorate. I'm finishing a Doctor of Psychology degree program. I'll be done in the next 90 days. Um, so then you'll have to call me double Dr. Richard, double doctor. Call me doctor. Just call me Richard, call me you. But I'm doing my dissertation on uh, and it's called an interpretive phenomenological analysis. So it's an IPA, an interpretive phenomenological analysis of the practitioner of hypnosis's experience with confidence. And so I've been diving deep into the research and confidence now for at least a year now. And some really remarkable things have come out. I want to share with you some things from the research. But before we do that, because we are going to end up doing a few group activities and things, don't worry, we're not going to role play. You actually get to be yourself. It would be helpful to meet a couple people. So I'm going to break you up into 3 smaller groups. If you just take a couple of minutes, introduce yourself to the other people in the room, who you are, where you're from, and share with the group one thing about your experience with self-confidence that's zapped your self-confidence. And share one thing. Remember, I told you we were going to start on week 1 with some negative stuff. And then share one thing that's helped you to create self-confidence. So just take a couple of minutes, introduce yourself to a couple of people. I hit join or hit the group thing. You hit join, it'll take you from here into a little breakout room with a couple of cool people. Just share who you are and one thing that zapped your confidence and one thing that's given you confidence. I'll give you about 7 minutes to do this, not a great deal of time, but just a chance to get to know a couple of people better. So hit join, you'll disappear from here. You'll magically appear in an awesome little room with some awesome people. And if for some reason you can't hit join, let me know and I'll use the Zoom bounce you into the right group trick. Perfect. Alexa, set a time. Alexa, stop the timer. Alexa, stop the timer. Uh-oh, I didn't give you enough time. You know how I know I didn't give you enough time? If I end the room at 60-second countdown and people come back before, I gave you enough time. But if nobody comes back till they get kicked out, I didn't give you enough time. But
That was nice.
yeah, you guys meet a couple cool people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone meet any lousy people? Yeah, so there you go. All right, good. It's going to be a great class. Then you guys are all pretty good. And I do want to share one thing with you before I start to cover a couple other things and also dive into a hypnosis session. The reason this is titled the self-confidence experience is because I'm going to do a hypnosis session every week, and you'll get access to the replay, and the replay can become sort of a self-hypnosis recording for you. That makes sense. But this class is structured in such a way that if you log in, you should find weekly modules, each with typically 3 tutorials, 3 videos where I'm teaching or talking about concepts. And then, of course, the Zoom replays. If you do miss a session, the Zoom replay will be there. There will also be scripts and things like that that I'm going to be providing for you. I had a problem this week, though. And the problem is that I've been editing the video for the ICBCH Winter Hypno Conference. And if you were there, let me assure you, all the video is now finally edited as of today. Yes. And 97% of all the videos turned out really perfect. I used new recording equipment this time around, new sound. It turned out great. So that's good stuff. Your talk, Robert, is awesome. Turned out perfect. Same with you, Joanne. And I got all the recordings from that stuff. Unfortunately, what happens is when I'm editing all that video and rendering all that video, I have to do it sequentially and in order. And so I didn't get all the video edited for week 1 for this class, right? Because I couldn't stop what I was doing anyway. So there's my excuse. So I finally have uploaded all of the video just shortly before this class started tonight. And so I will post the tutorials for this week tomorrow morning and the videos for next week tomorrow morning as well. So I think it's 5 videos that I have queued up. And so access the course materials. I learned a valuable lesson. They say that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So I learned a valuable lesson. Never start a new class a week after the annual convention. Wait 2 weeks. So that was the lesson I learned. So next year I will do a class that starts 2 weeks after a convention, not the week after the convention, because there's 2 or 3 days you're dead and you can't get out of bed and you're tired and all that sort of stuff. And then you have all the other stuff you have to follow up on and do. But I'm finally caught up as of today. And because the video sequential, I couldn't get that up. But so when you log in, what you will find on the page is you'll actually find the keynote from the convention, which I did on the subject of confidence in hypnosis. Some good stuff there. I think you'll find useful. The other 2 tutorials from this week will be posted tomorrow morning. I had to upload, I think it was almost 75 videos, 75 hours of content, and I'm limited by how much I can shove up the tubes of the internet. And then I'll post a Zoom replay. And underneath the Zoom replay, I've already posted a script, and I'll give you a script here at the end of our class today as well. I'll post it in the chat box here so you'll have access to that. So that's all the stuff that's coming up and where you can find it, etc. Let's talk about some of the research into self-confidence. Why is it important? Anyone here do hypnosis to help people who are students or even adults taking tests for test-taking anxiety, academic performance? Anyone offer that as a service in hypnosis? Guess what? The research shows that self-confidence levels are directly correlated to academic achievement. And higher levels of self-confidence get higher scores on tests. So if you're doing test-taking performance and anxiety, hypnosis, self-confidence should be one of the components of those hypnosis sessions that you're doing. One of the things that we know about helping people build self-confidence is that the physiology of self-confidence is as important as the psychology of self-confidence. What this means is that ways where a person might take care of themselves physically translates into increased self-confidence. So if you work with folks to help them address self-confidence, whether that's hypnosis for public speaking, or whether that's any other area where you might be working with somebody to develop self-confidence, you want to help them increase their physical activity levels. Part of the suggestions I'm going to be making for somebody who wants self-confidence to speak in groups is not just to imagine themselves having a receptive audience, but literally the direct suggestion to add daily walks to their life each and every day, or whatever suggestion I can make to increase the physical activity. By the way, especially on days where you're going to be speaking to a group. So if I were working with a public speaker, I might say, and when you have to give your presentation this morning, set your alarm for 30 minutes early and take a 30-minute walk, walking at least 2,500 steps in the morning before your big presentation at noon, right? What we see is that this boosts self-confidence. Anybody here ever have to make difficult decisions in life? Anyone here experience change, transition, have to make difficult decisions? Should I live there? Should I move there? Should I marry this person? Should I divorce this person? Should I invest my money this way or that way? Should I buy this car or that car? Should I whatever big decisions people make? Well, here's the deal. Self-confidence boosts. There's a direct correlation between self-confidence and the ability to make decisions quickly with less self-doubt. So if you're working with clients who are making decisions, who might be making a decision? Well, a weight loss client may be making a decision about what type of approach they're going to use to lose the weight. Somebody else might come into you to make a hypnosis session to help them sort out difficult choices in their family that they have to make, right? And self-confidence should be a part of that. How many of you would like to build a more successful hypnosis business or any other business? I mean, maybe you own a pizza parlor, but whatever business you want to. One of the things we see is that people who have higher levels of self-confidence, they're more likely to take risks and embrace challenges. They see these challenges as an opportunity for growth rather than something that sets them back. I was talking to a hypnotist today who said, oh my gosh, who would have thought that my career would fall apart and I wouldn't be able to make any money because nobody's booking sessions with me. Can you help me out here? I'm trying to figure out how to book more sessions. Guess what the heart of his problem is? Self-confidence. the self-confidence to take risks and buy some advertising, or the self-confidence to take some risks and raise your fee, or even the self-confidence to ask for the sale. Somebody might call and say, yeah, I was calling about your hypnosis services. Well, yes, I'm a hypnotist. I'm glad you called. Well, I was thinking about stop smoking. Yes, hypnosis is helpful for stop smoking. Well, how does it help people? Well, it helps people by helping them get the help they need to find out how to stop smoking, right? Okay, thank you for your time. How much is it? Oh, it's $2,700. Okay, thank you. I'll call you back and let you know. That hypnotist who answered the phone never had the confidence to say, I have an opening on Thursday and an opening on Friday. Would you like to become a non-smoker and do that on Thursday morning or on Friday afternoon? Take self-confidence to ask for the sale. Will that be check, cash, or a credit card? It's probably one of the most difficult questions that hypnotists seem to have, because it takes confidence to be able to do that in business. What else does the research show us about confidence? It shows that confidence can be improved. This is research. There's actually people at universities who earn their living trying to figure stuff out in life, and people hire people who want to improve their self-confidence can do that by talking to themselves, positive self-talk. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. The reality is affirmations work. Positive self-talk helps people to develop a more optimistic outlook and increase their self-esteem. And the reason why is because they probably didn't grow up in a home or live in a society that affirmed people and that accepted people and said you're okay. And if the world isn't going to do it for you, you got to do it for yourself. And self-talk actually works. Have anyone here ever experienced failure in life? Failure to quit smoking, failure to lose weight and keep it off, failure to, stay married or whatever else. Whatever failures people have, higher levels of self-confidence are directly correlated in the research to being able to really, there's an NLP presupposition. In NLP, there's something called the presupposition. Some of you NLP practitioners know this. And one of those NLP presuppositions is there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And people who come to study hypnosis or NLP, almost always they're different. When they run into something they disagree with, something they can't believe, it's almost always that presupposition that there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. I'll give you a personal example. I was on a date and I was eating dinner, and then the date asked the question that I don't really like answering because I don't look good on paper. And my date said, how many times have you been married? And so I blurted out a number, and she looked shocked and said, you've been married that many times? And I said, yes. She said, you've had four. She said, you've had 4 failed marriages. And the question caught me off guard because none of them were a failure. I never perceived any of them as a failure. As a matter of fact, to be rigorously honest about this, just 2 days ago, I sent my first ex-wife a Facebook message that said, happy 30th 8th with some balloons. And she sent me back a Facebook message and said, ha, 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 ha. You meant to send this to somebody else. I'm not 38, I'm 61 or however she is. And she said, well, thank you for making me 24 years younger. And I said, no, it's our 38th anniversary. And then she said, oh my gosh, it is our 38th anniversary. And then we talked on the phone for an hour. It was great, reminiscing about the good old times and all that sort of stuff. So I never perceived any of those relationships as failure, but a lot of people do. Every one of these failures is an opportunity for feedback. And some of you might recall just a week ago, I was having a great time in Florida at the convention with my ex-wife. So there, by the way, a different ex-wife, not the 38th anniversary one, but another one. And again, we have to perceive these relationships, these things that so many people perceive as failure, is really opportunity. So what does the research say about a growth mindset? Because I see people all the time, hey, come to my class, learn about a growth mindset. The growth mindset really helps us to enhance self-confidence. It's about believing in your abilities. This is also called self-efficacy, and we're going to get into that later on. But self-confidence increases mental health. It decreases mental health symptoms related directly to diagnosis. I mean, related directly to depression or anxiety or really anything else. And here's the coolest thing that the research shows. Self-confidence can be contagious. And if you're a hypnotist, this is a really powerful concept because your clients come to you and they want a solution. And if you have self-confidence, you can give it to them. So how do you increase self-confidence? Well, it's going to take us more than one session to do that. Well, let me give you a couple ideas. Let me give you a couple different theories from the research on self-confidence and how it can be increased, how it can be developed. And these are 5 areas that are rock solid. There's been mountains and mountains of research written on this, and journal articles and all that sort of stuff. Probably number one, I actually have this book on my desk. I'm surprised I happen to have it here. It's just dumb luck. You don't need to buy this book. But it happens to be your Albert Bandura's book, Social Cognition Theory. Don't go buy this book unless you're a therapist who's looking for a heavy read, right? But Albert Bandura was a Canadian-American psychologist, passed away a few years ago. He came up with a theory called social cognitive theory. People who know Albert Bandura, sort of in the public, know him from the Bobo doll experiments, the Bobo doll experiments. These are experiments on children and violence and learned behaviors in the home. And he had a big impact back in the 80s, congressional testimony on, television violence and that sort of stuff. And he was a social psychologist, and he came up as part of social cognition theory. Social cognitive theory, part of this is self-efficacy theory. And what he told us was that self-confidence is related to a person's ability to believe in themselves. Right? That was sort of his definition. And self-efficacy comes about from 4 things. Number one, mastery experiences. You try something and you do it. You try a little bit more and you do a little bit more. You get these mastery experiences, right? If you're learning to play an instrument, you learn how to play a couple notes and you learn how to play a simple song, and pretty soon you're playing, a concerto, right? Because you have these mastery experiences that build on each other's as you develop confidence. One of the other ways that we build confidence, according to Bandura, is ego strengthening. We get accolades from others. Do you guys have any peers who I notice a lot of hypnotists on the internet are mean to other hypnotists? Anyone else ever notice that? Somebody will come into a group on Facebook and say, hey, I'm working with a person who has low self-esteem. Does anyone have a script that could give me some ideas? And then everyone piles on, why would you use a script? That's just scriptnosis, and don't use PMR either. Or what kind of an idiot are you? If you're posting on the internet in a group of hypnotists asking for help, then you probably shouldn't be working with those clients anyway. Right? So you guys ever noticed the internet brings out the meanness in people? It just seems like a toxic place at times. People are free to be so rude that everyone was nice at the ICBCH convention last week. Right? That's because we're there in person. But if we were on the internet, everyone would have been, if it was a virtual convention, everyone would have been mean to each other, right? So ego strengthening, the accolades of others, positive affirmation, that helps us to increase our esteem. Did any of you have a teacher, a professor, a mentor, a hypnosis instructor, a colleague who gave you affirmations? Attaboy, go get it, you can do it, right? One of the other ways we can develop self-efficacy, according to Bandura, is the physiology of self-confidence. We have to be self-confident, to step into it, to stand up straight, to occupy our space, to have open body posture. One of the other things that helps us to develop self-efficacy is to see other people doing things that I would like to be doing. And so when I do a hypnosis session for you here in a few minutes, you're actually experiencing self-confidence by to do hypnosis for self-confidence by watching me do it. Does that make sense? And you're saying to yourself, hey, if Richard can do it, Richard's not any smarter than me. I can probably do this too. And so we have these vicarious experiences. So all of these areas that Bandura talked about in social cognitive theory are going to be really important, because if you're trying to help people develop self-confidence, you're going to want to create mastery experiences for them. You're going to want to model confidence and have them learn vicariously. You're going to want to use ego strengthening in your hypnosis sessions. And you're going to want to incorporate the kinesthetic elements that we often ignore in hypnosis. We almost always focus on visualization or self-talk. And Bandura, fantastic. They point out that physiology was the fourth for confident. So how many of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? That's the little triangle, right? And we got self-actualization at the top. Well, Maslow's theory actually suggested that self-confidence is a byproduct of self-actualization. So one of the ways that we can create self-confidence is to have our basic needs met, and to be able to move towards a point of enlightenment or self-actualization. So we're going to get pretty deep here in this class, and we're going to try to become enlightened beings before the 6 weeks is over, so that we can achieve the highest level of self-actualization according to Maslow. And that will, in fact, help us to develop higher levels of self-esteem. Carl Rogers had a theory called self-concept theory, and he believed that self-confidence was related between an individual's higher self and their actual self. And the closer the ideal to the actual self, the higher the self-confidence. So congruence, right? Overcoming imposter syndrome. The belief that the you that is perceived is the you that you actually are. I wrote a whole book on this years ago. It was titled Advanced Parallel Programming and the Law of Attraction. Was the title of the book. Horrible title for a really long book. This idea of parallel programming, creating a congruence between our beliefs and our actions, and that helps us. So Martin Seligman is the architect of what could be called positive psychology, and he has a theory called learned optimism. And he said that self-confidence is learned through optimism. That we can challenge negative self-talk, we can replace it with the truth. I think if we combine that with Bradshaw's work and reparent our wounded inner child, we can create an internal and stable self-image and increase our self-confidence. So I'm a big fan of positive psychology, but I'm a big fan of positive psychology when it's based on a foundation of probably some of those ideas related to reparenting. I've really, in the last several years, become recognized more and more. The older I get, the more I recognize the problems I have today were created when I was 5. And I probably wouldn't have said that when I was 30, but at 58, I realize now that I didn't come from an awful family. I didn't come from a perfect family. I wouldn't leave it to Beaver. It wasn't Mayberry RFD. Actually, it was kind of screwed up. I did a whole TED talk on it, but it wasn't screwed up as some people's, right? So, but gosh, the reality is, in order for us to step into positive states and positive psychology, we have to go back. And regression and hypnosis isn't my favorite method. I've never been known for being a regression therapist, but the attachment approach, really Carl Jung's approach of reconciling and knowing and accepting our shadow self is an approach that can help us to integrate that with positive psychology. And another approach that we're going to talk about in this course, I told you this is going to be deep today, is really the approaches from the American metaphysical movement. This was a movement in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, and we still see it today. This is where ideas like The Secret came from, right? Rhonda Byrne's book, The Secret. Every single one of those ideas came from Charles Haanel's book, The Master Key Syndrome, the Master Key System that he wrote in 1912 or whatever it was. Every one of Napoleon Hill's ideas, Think and Grow Rich, came out of that American metaphysical movement. William James, the psychologist who was quoted extensively in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, poets like Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau, all of these ideas challenged how it is we talk about ourselves and accept and create a feeling of sense and joy. And I am a believer in the law of attraction if we define the law of attraction not as the secret, but if we define the law of attraction as what the mind attends to, it considers, and what it considers, it eventually acts upon. Or if we define the law of attraction as where the mind goes, so the energy flows. And developing a healthy mindset, I think, really is one of the things that's essential for developing self-confidence. So, all right, let's take all these ideas. So I gave you a gazillion ideas so far tonight. There's a lot of stuff in 60 minutes. Anyone's brain fried yet? There's a lot of stuff. So there's a replay. Let's take all the stuff and let's see how we can use it, because it's one thing for Richard to talk about it. Could we take the idea of a metaphor? I mentioned metaphor earlier, and use metaphor to help increase self-confidence. Could we use a hypnotic technique of anchoring to a resource state that might compensate for an ACE, an adverse childhood experience? Yep. Can we use direct suggestion to embody confidence, to really step into and experience confidence in the present moment? Probably. Could we use a metaphor to nurture our inner garden? Could we stack metaphors? Wow, this is going to be a deep hypnosis session, and create nested loops. If you don't know what nested loops are, don't worry, we'll get to that later on. Can you use simple strategies like progressive relaxation to be fully present in this moment and to step into self-confidence? Can we take all of these big ideas that I just talked about for the last hour and put it into a cohesive hypnosis session so that we can build greater levels of confidence? Do you think that's possible? If you guys do, good. Got some positive thinkers in the group. Who's with me then? Who wants to experience hypnosis for cultivating unshakable self-confidence? All right, I got half the room with me. Okay. All right, there you go. Now everybody's on board. Again, hold on just a minute. I'm still out of voice from the damn convention. I remember when I did my first convention in 1994. That was 30 years ago almost. Right? That was 30 years ago. It was easier to do a convention when you're 34 or 38 when you're 58. Or I guess it was 28. 30 years ago, a long time ago. The first convention I ever did. It's just a lot easier to learn hypnosis by experiencing hypnosis. So I've taken all these ideas and I'm going to try to create a hypnosis session out of it. So you're on board, you're ready? Go ahead and close your eyes now. Now you don't have to close your eyes down, but if you keep your eyes open, you won't see anything other than me sitting here at my computer talking to you. So you may as well close your eyes down, because with the eyes closed down, it's easy to be fully present in this moment. To settle into a comfortable position at the desk where you are, to allow your body to relax, to focus on your feet and notice any tension or discomfort at the end of the day, and then to let that stress just melt away from anywhere in the body that you notice it. letting a feeling of relaxation spread upwards through your legs and hip and lower back. And because it's probably the end of the day for most people, although I think we have an Australian or two here, you've been probably carrying the tension of the day here throughout the day. Let those muscles relax. Let your shoulders release any tension. Unclench your jaw. And notice the feeling of heaviness in the eyelids. You see, if you take a moment to simply relax, there's over 200 little muscles in the face and the eyes and the eyelids. And each one of those muscles can relax, and it feels so good. And in this moment, as you continue to relax, allow yourself to drift into a state of tranquility, or what I like to call a resource state of hypnosis. Everybody here has experienced hypnosis before. So we don't really need a long induction. You can just access that resource state that we call hypnosis. And in doing so, you'll notice the deeper you go, the more receptive your mind becomes to suggestions for increasing your self-confidence, or more accurately, rediscovering your self-confidence. With each number and each breath, being ever more present and ever more focused. 3, 2, 1, 0. In this time and in this place, connecting with that inner child, that part of you that might carry wounds or shame from neglect in your early years. But in this present vantage point, understanding that this child has always been a part of you, seeking love, validation, and acceptance. And by acknowledging that you've been carrying this part with you, you can begin to heal any shame that's hindered your self-confidence for so long. Realizing that in many cases, those who gave us those unwelcomed, unwanted, unwarranted, and unresourceful messages are no longer even with us to hold power in those ways. And so imagine your mind, this capacity for creativity we have, as really a beautiful garden with your inner child in the center. The garden representing your emotional landscape, the trees, the flowers, the grasses. And in this place, you actually have a power to tend to that garden with care and compassion. Nourishing the soil with positive thoughts, self-acceptance, pulling out any weeds in that garden of negativity or self-talk or self-doubt. Seeing yourself water that garden with affirmations. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And even with simply self-compassion, have you ever had that experience where things were really tough and you just sat on the edge of the bed or sat in a chair for a moment and said, it's okay? That's an act of self-compassion. Sometimes we don't afford to ourselves. But by doing that, you're caring for this garden. You're watching your inner child blossom. You're growing stronger and more vibrant in each and every way. And no matter how difficult our experiences of life might have been, there probably is a time when you felt a level of confidence and self-assurance. Maybe it was in a class where you said something smart, or you received a diploma walking across the stage, or an accolade from a peer, or maybe even a kind word from a partner or spouse, when you got in the newspaper, or even when you were able to purchase something that other people aren't able to purchase because, well, you've been successful in one way or another. Maybe it was a time when you stood up for yourself, or an instance when you felt completely at ease in your own skin. Now, it might not be easy to recall the situation. You might have to go back some time. But chances are pretty good there is a time when you felt that confidence and self-assurance. And as you relive that experience, notice the details of the surroundings, the sounds, the sensation in your body, what it felt like to be self-confident. and amplify that state that you felt before by simply breathing in confidence and exhaling anything known or unknown holding you back from feeling that confidence. And when you amplify that level of confidence you felt in the past, notice how easy it is to relive that experience right now. And you can even, as your hand rests on your leg or on the armrest of the chair, touch that thumb and index finger together for a minute. Go ahead and do that. Touch that thumb and index finger together, pressing that thumb and index finger together. And what we've done here is we've really created an anchor to confidence that you've just created right now. And any time in the next day or two, week or two, month or two, that you need to increase your level of self-confidence, just touch that thumb and index finger together, whether it's stepping up to a podium to speak to a group, or even laying in bed at night after feeling a day filled with anxiety. And as soon as you do, you'll notice then the feeling that you've created right here. That feeling of being able to embrace your inner child and cultivate your inner garden. Embodying self-confidence in every aspect of your life, standing tall with your shoulders back, your head high, radiating an aura of self-confidence. Speaking with conviction, even to somebody who we might have been afraid of in the past. Expressing your thoughts and your ideas because your ideas and your thoughts are valid. Moving through the world with purpose and determination. And as you embrace a sense of self-confidence, allow yourself to, in your own mind, begin gravitating towards positive self-talk, your inner dialogue. Notice what it feels like in this moment that you set aside to feel more confidence, to just be more confident. Hearing the words that I use here in these affirmations, which you can borrow and make your own, or even creating your own affirmations that you can use later. But saying to yourself, I'm worthy and deserving of love, respect, and success. I'm worthy and deserving of love, respect, and success. Saying in your own mind, I trust in my abilities to face challenge with courage and determination. I trust in my abilities to face challenges with courage and determination. I accept and love myself just as I am. I accept and love myself just as I am. I'm confident, capable, and resilient. Capable and resilient. And notice how in this moment, as you notice your self-confidence grow, you become like the sun, radiating warmth wherever you go, your presence illuminating the lives of people around you. Even being able to create a sense of warmth. In fact, you can focus on your hands and you can say to yourself, my hands are warm, my hands are warm, my hands are warm. And if you pay attention, you'll notice a sense of warmth in your hands. And just as the sun nurtures life on earth, your self-confidence nurtures your own growth in all these areas of life. And so imagine yourself a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, even 10 years from now, having integrated this unshakable self-confidence into your being. But here's the remarkable part. It's been there since the beginning. Through these exercises, you've tapped into that which was already a part of you, amplifying the experiences that you've had and seeing yourself in situations that might have once triggered self-doubt, now navigating it with poise and self-confidence, noticing a sense of joy and fulfillment comes from living a life grounded in self-confidence. In a moment, I'm happy with your eyes, not yet though. You know that the seeds of self-confidence have been planted deep within your mind today. They'll continue to grow and flourish, nurtured by your daily practice of positive self-talk. The knowledge that you can bring the resource state of confidence you created in the session to any time and place by just touching that thumb and index finger together. And by recognizing that you're the gardener of your own self-confidence garden. And so pay attention now to the chair below you, to the air in the room around you. Notice your physiology of confidence in this moment and what it feels like. And this time, in this place, to have built a higher level of confidence in just one session. And be ready when I count to 3 to open your eyes with a smile on your face. And ready for, if you're in Australia, the rest of the day. And if you're in America or Canada, for the rest of the night. Or if you're in Europe, I guess, go back to sleep. 1, taking in a breath. 2, letting that breath bring oxygen to every cell of the body. And 3, opening the eyes, a smile on your face, feeling a sense of confidence. And if we can feel it, we can fact it. And if you didn't get anything out of this class, it was all summed up in the last statement I made. If you can feel it, you can fact it. If you can create it, you can believe it. If you can believe it, it's real. Reality is what we believe. You guys are awesome. You guys have fun tonight? There you go. Any deep thoughts, profound insights, questions? Each week we'll meet together. We'll run this about 75 minutes, give or take. Sometimes I go overtime. Rarely.
I want to say a comment related to what you were mentioning, Richard.
Sure, throw a comment.
I tell my clients the whole like fake it until you make it.
Yep.
I tell my clients, in here we do fake it until you believe it.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. Because if we believe it, we'll make it. Every time.
Yeah.
All right, you guys are some of my favorite people on the planet Earth. I'm glad I'm looking around the room and seeing people I know, and I like all of you. I'm lucky there's no lousy people in this class. So nice. Good to have everybody here. Thank you very much, Sharon, for your kind words. Good to see everybody. Joy Fink, you popped in and out. Hi, Joy. I hope everything's good with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have everybody. See you all. Same time, same channel. Oh, hey, look, there's a cat. We like animals. Feel free to bring your animals to class. They need confidence too. All right. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.